Hi, everybody. This is Maxine Taylor with another edition of Move into the Magic. And I can't tell you how thrilled I am to have my dear friend, Carrigan, medical intuitive, back on my show. Those of you who have been following Catherine's career and Catherine's shows, she is a #1 best-selling Amazon author several times over. You know who she is. You also know that recently she did an incredible medical intuitive reading on President Donald Trump. Well, I've invited her back today to do the same thing for Steve Bannon, White House Chief Strategist, who some have called the power behind the throne or the wizard behind the curtain. Catherine can be reached. I'm going to give it to you now because once I turn her loose, I don't want to interrupt. She can be contacted at Catherine with a C, CatherineCarrigan.com. So, with this in mind, Catherine, welcome once again to Move Into the Magic. I'm so thrilled to have you as my guest.
Thanks, Maxine, and thank you out there in the audience. We really appreciate you listening and watching. So I wanted to start by talking about what it takes to be a medical intuitive. There is a quality called neutral. When you do a medical intuitive reading, you have to get your ego mind out of the way. And I read from my soul to the other person's soul. Now, this concept of neutral, you won't find very often anywhere in American politics. What we tend to do is we tend to demonize people who don't think the way that we do. So I just want to start by saying that this is not a political reading of Steve Bannon. This is a medical intuitive reading of him. So just so you know how I did this, I took notes yesterday. Yesterday was Tuesday, February 21st, 2017. And all I did was I went onto the internet and I looked at photographs on Google of Steve Bannon and I tuned into his energy. So we have seen this gentleman demonized in the media, but what we have to remember that whether you're a monster or a saint, or a billionaire or a pauper, we all put our pants on one leg at a time. And I can remember years ago, I had a client who was a US Senator, and I got real nervous before she came, and I did a deep, thorough cleaning of my studio. And then I remembered, this is a human being, and we have to remember when we are communicating with each other to communicate from soul to soul, and from the respect to soul. And I encourage that everywhere, including in the political experience, because we are all souls having a human experience. It is my work to have compassion for people and to teach you, when I'm doing medical intuitive reading about you, I want you to have a greater depth of understanding about yourself. And as you have a greater compassion for yourself, you can have this greater compassion also for other people. So as I teach people to have a deeper understanding of themselves, we can take better care of our physical health so that observe your body so that you can do what you're here, your soul is here to do. So Steve Bannon, age 63. Now, when I do a medical intuitive reading, I start by looking at an individual's total life energy. So 50 would be average for a person your age. When you start getting down into the 20s, you're getting ready to die. People who take really excellent care of themselves, their chi level will be in the high 80s, sometimes in the 90s. And these are people who are very consistently taking care of themselves. So Steve Bannon's total life energy is 48 out of 100, with 50 being average for a gentleman his age. So as I joke, the largest room in the world is the room for improvement. So there's definitely room for Mr. Bannon to improve his health. Then the second thing I look at if I'm doing a medical intuitive reading, quick and dirty, is I look at what your most stressed organ is. Now, Steve Bannon's most stressed organ is actually his heart. And as we go through this medical intuitive reading, what you're going to learn is that As above, so below. What we see in natural healing is that disease starts in your spiritual body, goes into your mental body, goes into your emotional body, goes into your energy body, and finally hits the physical. By the time something's at the physical level, it's been in our energy field for some time. So you're going to learn a lot about Mr. Bannon's heart. So I looked at his heart muscle, 43 out of 100. None of the valves in his heart are working particularly well. Aortic valve, 24 out of 100. Tricuspid valve, 43 out of 100. 34 out of 100 for a pulmonary valve. Mitral valve, 24 out of 100. Now, if I am doing a medical intuitive reading and I see a person like this, I would recommend that Mr. Bannon visit his medical doctor for a thorough cardiac evaluation. So even though I'm a natural healer, I do believe in medical doctors, and if there's something you need to get checked out, I'll send you to one in a heartbeat. Now, I also see that he has inflammation of the pericardium. This is probably related to diet. He needs to improve his cardiac circulation, which is only 42 out of 100. So again, if he was my client, I would recommend to him gentle exercise such as walking, Tai Chi, Qigong, or other activities that might improve his circulation but keep his heart rate below 100 beats a minute. Now, 100 beats a minute is the level at which, if you go 100 beats a minute, above 100 beats per minute continuously when you're exercising, your body has to secrete the stress hormone. So for him, I would recommend low stress, continuous cardiovascular exercise, reduce sugar. I would recommend a food healing protocol of juices and smoothies that would improve his cellular health, reduce his cholesterol, and remove arterial plaque. Okra, pomegranate juice, and smoothies, because he really needs to lower his inflammation. Now, on the energetic level, this is so fascinating. What I look at is, what is a person's primary operating chakra? Now, many of us are familiar with the 7 primary chakras. We've heard a lot about the chakras, those of us who know them. And Mr. Bannon's primary operating chakra is the 11th chakra. Now, the 11th chakra is above the crown of your head. This is also my primary operating chakra. And this is the chakra from which we access the psychic gift of claircognizance. So this is psychic knowing. Now, whether you agree with his politics or not, he would receive information way in advance and operate from psychic knowing, where he has a deep understanding of what's going on and what's about to happen way in advance of others. I understand why he is chief strategist. He would be like a medical intuitive for politics. This is my gift as well. There are frankly not that many people who operate from their 11th chakra. Again, it's scanning constantly, gets advanced information. And this is, when you operate out of claircognizance, you have tremendous foresight. Now, all the psychic gifts have an upside and downside. And again, I'm a prophetic, this is your prophetic gift. You get information way in advance. And when you are operating from claircognizance, you can sound abrupt and brusque and come off as insensitive. I know I'm always telling my clients, I'm nice but blunt, brace yourself. I mean well. I have to stop and slow down. It's a very, very fast gift. It's the fastest of all the psychic gift. And but it can make a person appear brusque. Now, this is interesting as well. In yoga, we talk about mind, body, spirit connection. And Mr. Bannon has disconnected somewhat from his physical body. And this is partly from his psychic gift of claircognizance. The people high in the prophetic gift, again, they're operating out of these upper chakras, and they have a harder time making these mind-body connections. So that can show up as forgetting to eat, not really knowing how your body's doing, not really being aware of your physical health. He would need to have a really good wife who remember to eat, remember to go to the doctor, or remember to exercise, honey. You know, he would need to have somebody taking care of him because of that disconnect. Now, on the emotional level, I also look at what is your primary operating emotion. Now, this is so important because what we experience in here is what we tend to experience out there. So the world that you live in is actually a world of projection. So, for example, if I'm angry all the time, then I'm going to look out into the world and always see reasons to be angry. If I'm sad all the time, I'm going to look out in the world and see lots of things to be depressed about. So Steve Bannon, his primary operating emotion is pride. Now, sometimes we think of pride as being a bad thing. However, pride serves its purposes. If you think about pride, a really great example of this is the U.S. Marine Corps. This is what keeps you polishing your brass buttons and your uniform spotless. Now, if you've seen Mr. Bannon's appearance, he does not fall into the spotless category. However, he has tremendous pride about being an American. It's what keeps you absorbed in your work. Clearly, he sees himself as a tremendous patriot and takes enormous pride in his work, and only associating himself with people and organizations that he himself feels proud about. Now, the shadow side, of course, of pride is shame. That's what we sweep under the rug. Now, on the mental level, and again, I love doing medical intuitive readings. It gives me so much compassion for people, and I find people so fascinating. He has a very high IQ, genius level, and if you look at the 7 modalities of intelligence, musical, rhythmic, harmonic, visual, spatial, verbal, linguistic, logical, mathematical, body kinesthetic, interpersonal, and naturalistic, he is a genius in the area of interpersonal communication. He has a very, very sharp ability to read people. That's why I would say, just like in my business as a medical intuitive, what I literally do is read people. For example, a lot of my clients come to me specifically to decide who to hire. Who's the best person for this job? And I'll sit there and I'll talk about what a person's strengths are, what their weaknesses are, and whether they're right for a position. This is the same gift that Mr. Bannon has. He has a very sharp ability to read people. Now, unlike a feeler, people who are high in clairsentience, they're sweet, they're very tuned in to other people's energy and emotions. That's not what I'm talking about. He's not sweet, he's not tuned into other people's energies and emotions, but he's a political genius in his ability to read the chess game of people. What's their next move? How is this going to all fit together? Now, on the Enneagram, Mr. Bannon, I find, is a 3. So he's an achiever, someone who maintains a relentless work schedule. He's success-oriented, pragmatic, adaptable, excelling, and driven. And the basic fear behind that would be of being worthless. And his basic desire is to feel valuable and worthwhile. Now, on the spiritual level, in past lives, Mr. Bannon has taken a past life vow of sacrifice. Now, usually past life vows of sacrifice are associated with poverty and chastity and obedience. Now, Mr. Bannon is married and he's extremely wealthy, so that's not what I'm talking about. He does sacrifice himself, and he sees himself as sacrificing for this larger good. And this is interesting also. I talked about the physical health of his heart, but when I looked at it from a spiritual level, what I saw is that he has deep wounds that have gone, he has a wounded spirit in the heart meridian. And if he were my client, I would recommend that we do healing for his heart scars. Now, again, we have to remember that heart disease, which is very common in our society, it obviously has its physical components. We need to eat a cleaner diet. We need to lower our stress level. We need to exercise in ways that improve our circulation but don't stress our body, but it also has a spiritual component. And I'm seeing tremendous heart scars at the spiritual level that I believe are wounds that were inflicted by his father and by his relationship with his father. Now, what I see is that frequently in life, we start out with motivations, and even long after our parents are deceased, we're still driven by this. And I see that he had a need to prove himself to his father, and that it may be a continuing motivating factor. So often in life, we begin by needing to prove ourselves to members of our family, and long after those people are dead and gone, we're still striving, and we've forgotten who the hell we're proving ourselves to. So he definitely has a wounded spirit on the heart level, and his tremendous achievement covers up some low self-esteem. So if he were my client, I would recommend that we do healings so that he could learn to love himself just the way that he is, and to learn to experience the sheer joy of life without needing to achieve anything, learning to enjoy being instead of needing to constantly do. In fact, Mr. Bannon has such a restless spirit that if he was a young man, a person might accuse him of having ADD. He's not ADD. He's brilliant. His mind is leaping ahead from one subject to another, and he's, always 10 steps ahead of everyone else. And I would also recommend that we rebuild his heart chakra. So as an energy healer, I can clear out the heart chakra, remove old cords, and rebuild that energetically. And he definitely needs to rebuild his heart chakra. Tremendous scars there. Now, the archetypes that he is operating out of, and this is quite interesting, shapeshifter. So when you're a shapeshifter, you're eminently adaptable. You can be in this crowd and that crowd, and you can fit in everywhere. Liberator, he sees himself as liberating the mass consciousness from past binds. King, guide and mentor. He very much enjoys taking the role of being a mentor and a guide to other people. And finally, saboteur. I think he really enjoys sabotaging efforts that he personally does not agree with. So he enjoys being saboteur. Now, the wounds Mr. Bannon has experienced have gone into his heart, all the way deep into his soul. And this may also be why he covers up his sorrow with tremendous work. This is a pattern that we see very often in men. I have tremendous compassion for men. They're so used to and so programmed to being providers that they have forgotten how to enjoy life, and they need to give themselves permission to let go of that need to constantly provide, and to know that they're safe, and to know that they deserve to enjoy the fruits of their labor. He needs to learn to love himself and love life without need to do anything, and he needs to learn how to be and not just do. So in short, if Mr. Bannon was my client, I would encourage him to work with his medical doctors on improving his heart health and do the deep spiritual work necessary to heal his heart scars, so that he's not constantly striving and constantly trying to prove himself. And because he has proven himself, and to avoid and to learn how to settle in so that he can be at peace feeling his emotions. So thank you so much for listening. This is Catherine Carrigan of CatherineCarrigan.com. And I encourage you to look at other people with compassion, including and most especially other people in the political arena, so that we can practice having compassion for people, even those who we do not personally agree with. So thanks so much for listening, and back to you, Maxine.
Oh, Catherine, as always, you blow me away with your ability, with your gift. And I know that everybody out there in my audience is interested information on the people in the news. And primarily now, of course, we're dealing with Donald Trump and the people around him. And of course, I want you to come back and do your incredible medical intuitive readings on them. There was what is the biggest question that you get from people? And I know you have clients all over the world, and I know that you do this in person, you do this over the internet. What is the greatest question or the commonality that you find among your clients? What do they want to know? Why do they seek you out?
Maxine, that is a great question. And I think most people are really seeking to understand why they are unwell. They know that if they're calling me, they're experiencing pain and suffering, but they don't really understand why. So the average person who comes to see me has seen at least 7 other practitioners. They've been to the medical doctor, the psychologist, the psychiatrist, the shaman, the naturopath, the physical therapist, the energy healer, the craniosacral therapist, and on. And they're still not clear about why. And what's unique about me is I demonstrated, if I do a medical intuitive reading, I read the physical body, the energy body, the mental body, the emotional body, and the spiritual body. And we have to remember that emotions come from within us and we project them out there. So in my opinion, it's very important that we do mental, emotional, spiritual clearing work, because when we don't, that's what causes dis-ease. And all illness, no matter what it is slowed down energy, slowed down vibration. So when we surround ourselves with high vibration energies, that in itself is uplifting. So what is high vibration energy? Love, peace, understanding, doing things we love to do, being involved in work that we're passionate about, being in a beautiful garden, orchids. Everyone who knows me knows I adore orchids. The most evolved flowers on the face of the earth. And healing energy in itself is high vibration energy. So again, compassion, understanding, and compassion for ourselves.
Oh, Catherine, this is beautiful. Once again, you can get in touch with my dear friend Catherine Carrigan at her website, catherinecarrigan.com. You will be seeing more of her because I've invited her to come back. And if you have any suggestions of people who she might want to do one of her healings with for us, if you'll let her know or let me know, we will plug it in, both of us together. Once again, Catherine, you are just magical. Thank you so much, honey. And thank you, all of you, for joining me today. I invite you to come back and move into the magic with me once again, and keep in mind that when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Till next time, peace be with you.